Hi friends, hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Craft Your Joy Live. I'm super excited to be here with you today. I am going live twice this week and twice next week. We're going to talk a little bit about that and some things I'm planning for 2026. But I'm super excited to be here. Looks like everything's working. Today I'm going live over lunch. It's lunch for me. It's 12 to 1 here on the East Coast. And today we're just going to do a really easygoing watercolor tutorial. I'm going to talk a little bit about budget-friendly watercolors, and we're going to make some holiday tags. And if you're not in your craft room painting along, no worries, Tanya. You can always watch on the replay or utilize this tutorial in the future for a project that you might want to make. So, okay, friends, all of the supplies that I'm using are down below in the description. And I've also listed another video that I recently did this year that talked about budget-friendly watercolors that I'm going to talk about today. So I've been asked this question a couple times about budget-friendly watercolors and which brands I like and why. And so I thought, hey, let's talk about it again. So I see everybody popping in, and we were all kind of chatting in the chat, but I see some more people popping in. Daisy, hi Daisy, and Tanya. All right. We're going to have so much fun. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that are coming up, especially like in the next 2 weeks. It's a jam-packed December, and some plans that I have for this channel in 2026. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead to the overhead cam and talk a little bit. Okay, where's my face? Let's pop my face in. And again, today is like super casual. We're going to paint some projects. I've kind of got this setup tutorial geeky style, like my typical watercolor tutorials, but a lot more easygoing, and happy holidays. And also this tutorial and Thursday's tutorials are the last 2 tutorials in my holiday series. But we're just straight up doing watercolor. Okay, we're going to do some tags. At least I think we're going to do some tags. And I am using the tag trio from Gina K Designs. Love this tag trio. I've already pre-cut these 3 tags out of watercolor paper. I'm using Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor, and I consider this a budget-friendly watercolor paper because it is 100% cotton, which is my favorite. Love using 100% cotton across many brands. Sorry, my microphone was in the screen. And it is a reasonable price. So I do have that link down below. She sees the hippie color one. Yeah, Daisy, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, what we're going to do. And also, I've also listed another one down below in the description, a Canson XL. And that is another watercolor paper, but it's not 100% cotton. And today I wanted to use 100% cotton. So we are using this. And many of you are not new to the channel, so you know this is like one of my super faves for paper crafting projects. Now, before we dive into all of these and begin to paint, I want to talk a little bit about the budget-friendly watercolors. So I grabbed a few and I stuck them in this little bin. And I'm only going to talk about 2 brands today. Winsor Newton Cotman. Actually, this is a Winsor Newton Professional, but I want to talk about Winsor Newton Cotman. Winsor Newton Cotman. This brand, which I talked about on my last video. Let me just grab a few of these Winnie Newts out. Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors come in pans. They also come in tubes. And the reason why I like to recommend, let's see if I can get this open. Look at all those pretty colors. the reason why I like to recommend Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors, especially if you're new to watercoloring, is that they're affordable and they are easily readable, They are easily found. So they're ready, you know, they're available. And you can get a really nice set of watercolors that you can experiment with and play around with for a really affordable price. And the other thing I want to share about Winsor Newton watercolors in general, whether it's the professional line or what they call their Cotman line, which is technically like their student line, they are predictable. Okay. So when you're getting started in watercolors, sometimes you're unsure where you're going to begin. I'm just opening these to just show you this set too. And because this is just a little bit of a bigger set, which is kind of cute. I haven't cracked that one open yet. Because watercolors can feel a little overwhelming, it's important to me when I'm sharing things that like a predictable set, something that's going to do what you feel like it's going to do with watercolors, is, you know, that I recommend that. So I'm just showing a bunch of different Winsor Newton. Like here's another Winsor Newton set that I've kind of put together that I use that's Cotman that I like. And here's another one. This is Tierra Bloom's Flower Farm. It's a flower farm here in my county that I love. Here's another set. So you can see, and I've got some of the Winsor Newton metallics. But look at the colors. I think we're going to play with a couple of these. We're going to use a different brand today that I'm going to talk about next. But this Winsor Newton brand is fantastic. The Cotman brand is fantastic. You don't have to start out with such a big set if you don't want to. You could start out with the tubes if you wanted to. And I might use some tubes today. I'm not sure. And then they also make these little bitty sets, which I have put some professional colors in there. But Winsor Newton's really great, predictable brand. I want to take it a step further with our budget-friendly brand. And I talked about this in the last video that I did in the spring about budget-friendly watercolors, about this new brand that I had found. I don't even know. It's a travel set, and it's called Phoenix. Okay, so it sets up really. It's just this really interesting twist set that kind of like, let's see, that's that color. Let's bring this down here. It twists on like this, and this kind of, where does this twist on? This twists on like this on the side. And I know in the last video that I shared, I struggled, but I'm sharing it today because it's called the Phoenix brand. And they make them in 12s and 24s and 36. I think this is 36. It's also got these little things on the back here, this little container, and a couple other little, like a brush and things like that. This little container is super cute. It like goes in here and it pops on to the side. So it's kind of a fun little set. Let me get that lid open again. It's kind of a fun little set that you could like take on the go if you wanted to, which I think is really super fun. But what I wanted to share is the last time I used this set was the watering can tutorial, and I kind of did a little bit of a comparison of this set. Let me get that. It's not nailed in there really well. And the Cotman watercolors. And there was also a video done by Lindsay Wyrick, the Frugal Crafter, here on YouTube, where she talked about these Phoenix watercolors and how she thought that they were perhaps Winsor Newton Cotman, the manufacturer. So, yeah. Hi, Denise. Oh, it might be me, but I lost your video. is it just me? I have no sound. Oh, did I hit the microphone? Everybody's saying they don't have any sound. It might be you, friends. I'm looking at my my microphone. Okay, we're getting some advice from our other friends. Tanya still has audio. I'm looking at my microphone and it is projecting out pretty well. So I think we're good. But keep popping in and let me know if we don't have any sound. But go back out and go back in. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so the Phoenix watercolors, I think we're going to use these today because I want to show you how budget friendly they are and how fun they are. But look at these colors. So when you look at these colors, oh, Mary, I'm so sorry. Tore your rotator cuff. Look at these colors for these Phoenix, and you kind of compare them to these. They all look kind of similar, don't they? So I like to share them because I really think this whole set is like $24, I think. I've got it linked down below, and it's just a really great, it's kind of a clever packaging, but it's also just a really great budget-friendly set that I wanted to share. Okay, great. Great, Denise. So let's get going because I've been yammering on and kind of geeking out about these watercolors. And we're going to play with greens and pinks. So here's Permanent Rose. Let's dive in. Let's just get to it because we painted, we've chatted. Well, we haven't painted yet, but we're chatting. We're doing all the things. I want to bring in my tags. Oh, the leftiness, the lefty. Trying to figure out where to put all the things. Going to bring that up forward for a little bit. We're going to maybe paint 3 today, and here's what we're going to do. And I'm going to go through 3 different kinds of techniques. We're going to use an angle brush today. This is an angle brush, so you can see how it's a brush that's on an angle, which is going to make some really fun brush strokes. And I've got these 3 colors, this pink, this green, this Permanent Rose, favorite color from Winsor Newton, sap green and green gold. And I also have some gold, Kuretake gold, that we're going to play with today. And then we're going to do, that's an angle brush tree. We're going to do this brushstroke tree, which kind of got a little bit away from me. So I'm going to redeem myself and show you how to do it properly. With a phthalo green, a sap green, and a green gold. But I'm looking at the colors in here. So here's around the greens. Look at all these greens. We're going to play with all these greens that are in this Phoenix set. And then I have this one. I call it it's the deer foot. So this is a deer foot brush, which is really just a big honkin' brush that looks like it's got a wild hair, right? And then we're just going to kind of create that tree and see how it goes. I didn't get another layer in here. And I also threw in some Daniel Smith Cascade Green in that one when I was playing. Excuse me. So let's get started. Let's start. Excuse me. I think I want my large, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I want my large tag to be our angle brush. I'm probably going to regret this little tag later, but we'll see. We're gonna challenge ourselves, friends. Oh, Tanya's using metallic dots from Etsy. Oh, I love all those metallic dots that I see on Etsy. They're just super cute. All right, I need a pencil, which I just had and now cannot find. Oh, there it is. Not find. So let's go ahead. Now, I've got my tags. I also mentioned you could just do this on your watercolor paper, whatever watercolor paper, or even in your sketchbook. And if you want to later, you can cut it out and make it a tag. Or just make it big, just because you're practicing and playing. But I just wanted to play with some tags today. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to rough in a really, really light line down the center here, just to kind of give me a sense of where my center point is. Then I'm just going to kind of put in a rough dotted line on the outer edge to kind of make a little triangle. And this is just giving me just a frame of reference of where I want to go with things. All right, I'm going to grab my angle brush and I'm going to get some pools of color going here. Or maybe not. I think we're just going to work right from the, all right, I know I'm not going to use these. These are the neutrals in this set. Oh no, I want that olive green. Okay, let's just put that there. We're going to eventually use that olive green. But my permanent rose is right here. And my green gold, look at that, is right there. All right, let's just get going. Let's just get going. I'm going to start off with the permanent rose. And here it is. So let's just get some of that going. And now look at how juicy. Let's get a piece of paper. Just so you can see this color. Let me grab some paper. Again, we're painting, we're chatting. And I want to show you this permanent rose. I got a feeling I just did the wrong color. In this Phoenix watercolor. So it's a nice color. It's a little bit washy because I've got a lot of water going here, but I kind of like it. It's a really nice color. It's a pretty, it's a little, okay, the Phoenix Permanent Rose, that's the Phoenix Permanent Rose. I'm geeking out, friends, so bear with me, and thanks for bearing with me. Let me grab the Winsor Newton Permanent Rose because I feel like, even though I feel like they might be very close, there's my permanent rose right there. And friends, if you don't want to use budget-friendly watercolors, you don't have to. I just really wanted this tutorial to be kind of simple because people had been asking me about budget-friendly watercolors. So here's Permanent Rose and Cotman. So it's very similar. Very similar. Okay, let's get going. So it could very well have been manufactured by the same people, but I wanted to mention it because I think it's a great little set. Let's get it nice and juicy and wet here. Now, I'm using the angle of the brush, and I'm just going to swoosh, and then turn this way, and use the angle of the brush and swoosh this way. And notice that I'm not reloading my paint because I want to get those, I want the paint to kind of like dry out at the end here. And I want to get a little bit of that variegation of the color. And I also want to see the brush strokes because I think it's fun. All right, and we're going from dark to light here. So this set kind of has a lot of pigment in it. It had a lot of pigment. Let's just separate all this and just have it going rogue and wild. And we'll just pull in the pieces that we need. You could also, like, if you didn't like this packaging, you could also take out these little pans and do something different with them. All right, I'm going to come in. I'm going to grab the olive green. I just think it's a cute little set. And you can see I've used it a couple times because I think it's fun. I'm going to grab the olive green and we're going to do, which is very much like a green gold, but it's called olive green in this set. And I'm going to come in above, kind of following that line, just whoosh, turn this, go whoosh. This is giving me a little Grinchy. Feels a little like Grinchy. The Grinchy colors of Whoville. All right, now I'm going to come in with, what's my third color that I want to do? The sap green. Let's come in with the sap green. And here are the greens. So my sap green is right there, go figure. Let's pop that right there. I'm getting texts. What's happening? Okay, we're going to come in and just follow this line right here and go whoosh. Follow this line right here and go whoosh. And then I'm going to come down here and go whoosh like that. So we're layering those 3 colors right there. Love that. Fun. So if you're doing it larger, you can see you have more whooshes, right? With your angle brush. This we have less. But now I want to dry this. Even though there's a lot of pigment here and it's not super wet because we're doing the technique wet into dry. Tag is dry, paper's dry, brush is wet, lots of pigment on the brush. So you can see there isn't a ton of bleeding of the color, but you can see that there's some overlap of the color, which is so pretty. Like, look at that sap green overlapping that permanent rose. We're getting a little bit of that orangey like look there. So super cute. I'm going to dry this. Then we're going to come in and add a few more swooshy details with the actual angle tip of the brush. Okay, going in, going in. Woo. Do not burn, do not burn, do not burn your finger. Okay, so super cute. Digging it. Digging it. Now we're going to come in and get some of that permanent rose color. Let's get some of that permanent rose on that tip, on that angle. And then just come in and use the angle and do a little bit of swooshing in some of the places where you need a little bit more defined lines. Then I'm going to come in with the gold. Let's come in with the gold. And see what's going on there. Come in with the gold. I'm using this Kiritaki Starry Colors gold. I don't know what I did with the packaging. It's around here somewhere. So tell me in the chat, what are your favorite, if you're just getting started with watercolors and you've gotten a set, have you tried the Cotmans yet? Or I have a couple budget-friendly watercolors brands that I really like. I've talked about Paul Rubens on this channel. I've got this piece right here. I want to come in and we're just gonna like add gold. And I'm just gonna take my little thing and just add gold there. Let's get some more gold. So you can see this tag can come together really super quickly. I've got this little swoosh up here that I want to do of gold, just to kind of top off that top of that tree. And this is kind of fun and whimsical. Let's go back in a little bit with a different green. I'm going to come in with sap green, viridian green, this is hooker's green, and then the permanent green dark. Let's just pick up a little bit of a darker green. Let's pick up a little bit of this hooker's green. Just very close. This version of what they say hooker's green is very close to a phthalo. Just going to come in. Oops, kind of regret doing that, but that's okay. Just adding a little bit of detail. I kind of like it. It's definitely got this like tornado swooshy look to it. Oh, Virginia, you're going to do this with the Art Nouveau set. That's great. I was going to go live with the Art Nouveau set, but then it didn't fit the whole budget-friendly concept. But I'm definitely going to use Art Nouveau. I'm taking a little bit of gold in an upcoming tutorial because I really like the pastellis. Just adding a little tree stump to the bottom here. And then let's just go ahead and add a little star to the top. Oops. And I just grabbed a number 2. Now today I've got some rounds. I'll talk about each brush as we're using them. But really just grab whatever brushes you have on hand. My brush is wet, the paper's dry. I'm just taking a little bit of a wet brush over top of that gold. and kind of boogering up my star here. Tanya says, mine looks like a wonky rainbow ice lolly. Mine kind of does too. But it's got this whole like whooshy whooshy tornado like look to it that's making it super, super fun. I'm getting a text here. Anywho, sorry about that. That was my daughter. She couldn't join us today. She might join us this week, but she's got a really bad cough, and it makes it hard for her to talk. And she's fine. No major sickies. It's just this cough that's lingering and won't go away. I'd say I'm taking a little bit of the gold here with a little bit of water and just kind of creating a little bit of a base. Question, Virginia. I'm late, she said. That's fine. What was the initial brush I used? I used this angle brush. So any brush, this is a Princeton, but you could use any brush that kind of has an angle to it, because it helps kind of create these whooshy kind of shapes. Yes, angle shader. Daisy says, I'm just starting. I have a Crafter's Companion watercolor palette set. Great set. And a Gonze Tambai Kuretake metallic set. That's what this is. And I just love it. I absolutely love it. A few Daniel Smith tubes. Love Daniel Smith. Cascade green being my favorite color. And hoping Santa brings more. You know what? I hope Santa would bring me more watercolors, but Santa does not need to bring me any watercolors. I have a lot. I have given away so much out of my stash to friends and family that I need to use some of the watercolors that I have. So I have a no spend on watercolor goal in 2026. With the exception of maybe some Daniel Smith watercolors if they come out with new ones. Maybe. Okay, this one. Look at the shine. You know what? I think I just saw something. Let's geek out for a minute. I just saw something that I feel like needs a little bit of gold. Look at that saturation of that gold. These little Kuretakes are nice. I'm going to come in right here on that pink and just kind of go across it and just give it a little bit of gold. I love that. How cute is that? Super whimsical and wonky. At the end, we'll make a decision together as to whether or not I'm going to go back on these tags and add splatter. But I also had gotten out one of the snowy background stamp sets from Gina K. It's over there. We might use that for splatter. That might be fun. All right, let's see. All right. Number one down. Number one down. Look at that. Whimsical, kind of whooshy. Super fun. I'm definitely going to use this tag. Virginia said I tried that for Lent from Amazon. It was so painful. Yeah. Oh, great. Terry. I'm going to get your name wrong, but hopefully. Terrial. Stad 8470, love this idea. Great. I think your name's Terry, and it's just like your whole name, right? Okay. So how many friends do we have with us? Meanwhile, I've got my mouse sitting here. I wasn't even paying attention. We have 24 friends that have joined us today. That's great. Okay, now let's go to the next one and have some fun. This one's going to be our most challenging one. No, it's not. I think it's going to be most challenging to try to get that one on these two small sizes. So we may not do that. I'm going to show you this one on a larger size because I should have went ahead and cut two of these tags and did that. But I didn't because, brain. Okay, let's do the Brushstroke one. This is my Brushstroke one that I did, and it kind of got a little bit out of hand. But this is the Brushstroke tree. We're going to use a number 6 round because I have a smaller tag here. But on this one, I used a number 8 tag, but you can conceptually, you can see the concept over here. So we're going to be layering brush strokes of the round brush in different greens, and I'm going to dry in between so that you can start to see the layers of watercolor coming through. I didn't do that in between these, so they all started to mishmash together and create this tree, which isn't a bad tree. I actually really like it. But I want a different look for this. So let's go ahead in. Now, again, this one, I'm going to come in with my pencil and just kind of draw my little dash line down the center, giving me my center point. And then just kind of bringing in a little dash line here and a little dashed line here. So super simple. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be accurately angled. Just has to be fun. And we're going to come in. This is going to be a wet into dry technique. Paper is dry, brush is wet, not sopping wet, but wet. And I'm going to start with probably my darkest green. Let's come in with this. Let's go in with sap green. And the consistency of what I'm trying to achieve here is like dark at the bottom, lighter at the top. So that means I'm going to change the value of the watercolors that I have and the value of the paint by adding water. So we're going to work with those water to paint ratios. Brush is wet. I'm picking up a lot of pigment here. So I've got a lot of pigment on my brush. So I've got like a whole milk consistency here. There we go. And I'm going to come in and I'm using my brush and kind of tilting it this way. And we're going to just lift up so you get a petal. I've taught this technique many times before when creating flowers. So we're going to use it now, this technique, to create petals and build them upwards towards the top of the tree. So you can see I can nest them. You can nest them kind of close together to kind of fill in the bottom. As we go upward, we're going to not nest them as close together. I'm going to get some more paint because I really do want this bottom to be a little darker. And I'm also kind of beginning to create the formation of the shape. So laying down that first line helps me to begin to see how to lay down the rest of the lines. All right, now I'm going to come in. Two ways that we can do this. I'm going to change up the colors as I go up. So it's going to have kind of an ombre, maybe a reverse ombre kind of look to it. Or if you just want to stick with one color, meaning the sap green, got the wrong reference out here. If you want to just stick with one color, your sap green or whatever color you're using, now is when you're going to change that value of the color by adding water to your paint. And we're going to do that as well. But first, what I want to do is I want to make sure it's a little bit wet. I want to make sure everything, every layer as I'm going up is completely dry. Whereas when we were doing this one, every layer was still kind of wet, not super washy wet, but wet enough to where there was a little bit of bleeding. This technique was definitely that whole milk consistency of pigment, and we've got a lot of super vibrant color, and it's less washy. This one, we're going to play with that a little bit. Play with our values of the color by adding water to create a little bit of a different look. So I'm going to dry this in between. Make sure it's dry. Turn it to the light so I can see. And there we go. So we can see that it does feel dry. I didn't booger it up. Yay me. And then we're going to come in and I'm going to change my colors. And I'm going to go for something that is a little bit between, now my next color, I'm going to go for something that's a little bit between the 2% milk and a whole milk. So something in between, or like our friendly plant-based milks. And I'm going to change up my color a little bit. So I'm going to end up taking a little bit of this Hooker's green and I'm going to put it down here. So you can see that this green is a little bit more, this is sap green, so it has a little bit more yellow in it, and it definitely feels a little more earthy. This is Hooker's green, which I think is pretty close to a phthalo looking version, but they're calling it Hooker's green. So it's definitely kind of got a Christmassy green to it. It's a little cooler, but I want there to be just a little bit more water in here. I'm going to pick that up. You can see that it's a nice consistency, but I do have a little bit more water on that. Didn't think that through, as I need to put my hand down, and I hope I don't run into it. Okay, and I got a feeling I am going to run into it. So I'm going to try really hard not to pick up more color, but I'm going to make a few more petals. And you can see this has kind of come out a little bit darker than I wanted it to. So that's why I think it's a phthalo green, because phthalo is a staining green. So I'm going to clean off my brush, completely clean. I'm going to run my brush back over what I did and just lift up some of that color. Lift and dab off, lift and dab off, lift and dab off, lift and dab off. And then I can just pull away some of that color. I'm still digging it though. I'm still liking it. All right, now I'm not going to clean my brush in between this time. And I am going to grab another color. This time I'm going to grab that green gold color, which on this palette is called Olive. Let's take a peek at that. So that's what that looks like. And I want that consistency to be somewhere between, I'm going to add some water to it. So this is about a skim 2% milk. I'm going to add a little bit more water to it. Just kind of water that value down a little bit. And let's just start in again. I'm going to lift this up. I really am afraid my hand's going to run into there. So let's move over just a little bit. And then add some. I'm not really getting the values that I want because I think my brain is being super conservative on how much water I'm adding. So that's all right. Clean off my brush and just kind of go back in with it and pull some of that color away. I want it to start to gradually have a little bit of a washy look as we move up to the top. Now I'm going to come back to sap green. So here's my redemption moment, right? I'm saying this like, here's my redemption moment, but really we're just having some fun and creating some tags. So here's my sap green, and I'm just going to get some of that pigment down and then just pop it down right there. Again, not thinking, and then really washing this down to see if I can get myself to a skim milk consistency. Come up a little bit above it, and now you can see that my little pieces have a lot more water to them. So I'm starting to get a little bit lighter in my values as I've gone up top. Now let's go ahead in. And before we do that, I'm just going to dry this real quick, a little bit. Very, 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 very wet. So if I go and touch it at all with another color, it's going to end up bleeding a little bit, which isn't a bad thing at all. So if you want to do it, do it. I'm just trying something. I tried it a little bit. Let's go ahead in. What color? I've literally forgotten what color I was on. Oh, okay. Watering down some of that phthalo green. And then there's like pop in some of these. All right, I'm digging it. I'm getting to where I wanted it to be. Add some more water here to the olive colored. I would want to put my paper upside down. It eliminates my hand. Brilliant. Jill, brilliant. Yeah, she's saying, Jill is sharing, turn your paper upside down. You could start from the top to the bottom, or you're going like this. That's a great way to do it, especially for lefties. What color was I in? Gold. I'm adding some more water. You can see everything, my pigment here is really starting to get liquidy, which is nice. And then we're just going to top off that top with one of the, I'm just going to mash up. Look, I'm going to mash up all three and just get myself 3 little dots at the top, 3 little brush strokes at the top. Now I'm going to dry this whole thing and come back over it with some gold. And then I think that one will be done. Let's just go ahead and tidy that up so my whole hand doesn't get in there. Daisy, this is when I wish we were zooming. I would lift up my card. What the heck am I doing wrong? Which leads me to some conversations about 2022, which I plan to do a couple things. Let's go ahead and grab our gold, but I'm going to dry this first. You can see where some of that color has bled. Woo. Fingers. I look, see where some of that color is bled right there? I love it. Love the way that looks. You guys are hilarious today. Daisy says, my tree looks like how I walk, moving to the left at every step. My husband says that I walk like that. Like I never walk straight. I'm always like, zzz. And I think it's just because how my brain works. My brain just wants to zippy doo dah. So like, Daisy, you mentioned like some of the Zooms. I'm planning a couple things in 2026. Some thoughts. I'm going to pick up some of this gold, and I've got like full strength here. And I want to do some live Zooms with friends, with you all, so that we could come together and paint a project together. And then we can like literally talk and kind of like coach you through things like that when you get to a spot that feels challenging. Now I'm just going over some of the areas that like have some white, and I'm just dropping in. Same brushstroke technique, but just dropping in some gold. And you can see I'm just kind of randomly popping them in because I am going to go over it with some water. Oh, that's great. So let me know, friends, like zooming live together, like live tutorials, zooming together. I'm going over all of this with white. If there's interest, because I'm thinking I'd like to try to do it once a month or once a quarter. I'm just adding a little bit of water to this. I don't want to lose the shape like I did here. But I still want you to feel like it's there, but I want you to see how we've layered all those colors and how they've come up. I've got that little tiny spot right there, and I think that's okay. Tanya said my tree worked, but I'm lightheaded from blowing on it without a heat tool. That's so funny. You guys are cracking me up today. I'm going to come in and add a little bit of green to my bottom. Just add a little green stem kind of like thing at the bottom. Stump. I said stem. And then just taking, my brush is clean. Just taking a little bit of that and just letting it kind of give it a little ground at the bottom. And then we'll go ahead in with a little bit of gold and create the star at the top. So, yeah. So yeah, Jill, like the days and the times for the Zooms, friends, if anybody's interested in doing like the live Zooms, pop in the chat. Because I have a studio space and I have lights and things, I can do things at night. I can do things in the day. Pop in the chat if like nighttime works, daytime works. It's going to be an experiment. The lunch hour works, you know, where we do a little live together. That could be fun. And then also pop in the chat if that is something that you, because there's a little bit of extra costs associated with some of that technology. If that's something you'd be willing to pay a very, very low cost to, like $5, $10, something like that, just to help me offset some of the costs. Anyway, here's our tag number 2. I'm digging it. Love that. Virginia Shear, mine is very fat. Karen said that would be fun. Yay! The way you ground it is like magic. You can easily do that too. Look, see, so that's dry. And I can go back in and just kind of add a little bit more. Need a little water there. A little bit more to my brush to bring that shape back. And then just so you get your stump back. That's super cute. All right, tag number 2. Super fun. I'm kind of digging it. I kind of love it, the way it looks. I'm feeling like maybe we're not going to do splatter, but I don't know. Let's see how we feel. Evenings work or Wednesday during the day. Yay. I'm blessed to be officially retiring as of 1/1. Congratulations, Daisy. Congratulations on the retirement. Okay, we're doing good with time. I wanted to keep this to the lunch hour. Let's do this Deerfoot one, just so that you can see it and know how we're going to do it. And I need some paper. I'm not going to be able to do the Deerfoot. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Oh, Daisy, good point. Maybe consider an annual cost help you get some. That's very, very kind of you. I will tell you, friends, that my goal in 2026 is to try to come live twice a week. So I'm experimenting with this a little bit and then go deeper with maybe some Zooms or a thing where I can, if you are interested, we have more interactive. You're able to show me things and I'm able to talk you through things. So that's one thing. But my goal with YouTube next year is to go live twice a month. Of course, we're going to have our card making or paper crafting project once a week or up to 3 times a month. I usually do. And then I definitely want a watercolor tutorial once a week or 3 times a month. So that means going live twice a week, once over the lunch hour and then once for paper crafting. Usually at that 11:30 timeline. So that's the goal. That is the goal, because I know that I integrate watercolor into all of my paper crafting projects, but we were really only doing paint and chats like this once a month. And I really want to, because you're all asking and people want this, I think. You can tell me in the chat if that's true. More watercolor tutorials, more time together, and more geeking out about some of these techniques and creating projects together. Okay, so let me know if that's something that sounds kind of interesting, because I definitely am going to be pouring a lot more time and energy into the YouTube channel versus all of our other social media channels, which I feel like nobody sees anything except for our Gina K Facebook group. But spending time with you here in the video tutorials and this long form content, I think just works. We all seem to enjoy it. Everybody's saying perfect. Oh, Judy, thank you. Thank you everyone for sharing that you'd be willing to pay for a few things. And again, not exorbitant prices, just enough to cover our costs and be together. That's all. That's all. Okay. Great. Great. Everybody wants more watercolor. I got that feeling you all wanted more watercolor outside of the context of our paper crafting and card projects. Yeah, so we're expanding. I'm expanding. I'm leveling up, friends. All right, we're going to do the Deerfoot one on a little bit of a larger piece of paper because I don't think I can pull that off on this little baby. I don't think I can pull it off, but I think I can pull off, if we have time, one of the little angle brush ones. Yes, Jill, this is the Gina K tag set. It is called the Tag Trio. I love it. It's absolutely just incredibly useful. All 3 tags are a really great size. You could create something and then just take your die over top of it if you wanted to, which you could do that. See, you could like do that. If I did this a little bit smaller, like maybe I will for this one so that we can do it. But I want to show you this technique, this Deerfoot technique. All right, let's dive in. Again, I'm going to draw that little dashed line down the center. And then just a slight line around, like another dashed line around my edges here. Just to give me that cone shape. And now we've got this Deerfoot brush, okay? And I just call it the wild hair brush. And literally, friends, I picked this up. It's a mixed media brush. I picked this up at Michael's, I think, years ago. You could also take one of your craft brushes that you might have. This is a number 10. I would look at one of your like chunky, round brushes, craft brushes, and you could chop it. And then you could get this wild hair look to it. You could totally do that by using what you have in your stash instead of trying to find a Deerfoot. Selfishly, oh, Virginia, I'm not a card maker, but I watched for tips on mixed media. Yes, which is why I try to share a lot of watercolor mixed media-ish with cards. All right, we're going to focus on 3 layers of color. This technique is going to be more washy. Okay, so brush is wet. I'm going to come in with and get this sap green. So far, friends, I've been pretty happy with this budget-friendly watercolor. Phoenix. It's really nice. The Deerfoot, Jill, the Deerfoot one is scary. Look at how I'm just like crushing it in there and getting this like washy-washy. All right, brush is wet, like sopping wet. It's got pigment. And I'm just going to hold this vertically and just kind of sponge it out. Look at that. Like, and sponge out that shape. Try not to drag because I got that little draggy. Sponge it out. I kind of want a little bit more water on here. I want this to be a little more washy, so I'm going to dip it in the water. Too much water. Too much water. Here's how we're going to recover. I got too comfortable. Just taking a little bit of a paper towel. Let's get some more. And then we'll come back in. And just, see, I dragged it a little bit and I ended up getting a little bit, just coming in and just following my shape. And this is going to be a little more organic in nature. And then watch your top, just kind of dab a little bit. Sort of like taking, you could also probably do this with a sponge, friends. I guess it depends on how porous your sponge is. Oh, Tanya, great idea. Tanya mentioned a makeup brush. That could work too. Like anything that's kind of like that. That's got wild hairs, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to dry this in between and we're going to come in with another layer of color. Yeesh, it's wet. It's really wet. One thing I want to mention about all of these designs that we did today together is that you can always use your stamps to do a to and a from, Or like if you had little tiny little stamps that would make cute little ornaments, you could stamp them on there. That would be so cute. That would be so cute. All right, I'm going to dip my brush in. And I'm going to come in, what colors am I using? I use sap green. Let's get some of that green gold color. My brush is wet, and I'm just kind of just going over my green gold color here. I'm coming in. Boop, 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 boop. Just kind of following what I did. And just kind of having a little bit of fun with it. This is a very organic shape. I want to get a little something going out like that so I can kind of preserve that look. This is where I drug it a little bit. That's okay. Let's just come in. Oh, drug it again and kind of come down and starting to get that shape. All right, I'm digging that. I'm digging the way that looks. And I'm resisting the urge to go over it with that color. I'm going to dry this now. You can see I got really like super washy over here. So things just kind of got really flat. And I've got a lot more dimension and color here. Let's dry it. Turn it to light. You can see where it's wet. I am really, really kind of surprised about these watercolors. They are usually like a budget-friendly watercolor when you, not usually, but sometimes with a budget-friendly watercolor, it's, or a student grade watercolor, there's less pigment in the pan or pigment in the tube. So it's less vibrant and you need more layers. We're working in some pretty dark layers and I'm pretty impressed with this. So I really feel like this Cotman brand or this Phoenix brand that feels a lot like Cotman are going to give you some really, really great looks. Now, I'm going to come over this. Oh, we're running a little bit over, friends. Like probably 5 minutes. Get my brush a little bit wet. I'm going to dip it in this gold. I tried to keep it to the 1 hour, but we did 3 tags. So, you know, if we did 1, we would have kept it at an hour, but that didn't happen. And I'm just, oh, I got a lot of water going here. I'm just going to kind of use that deer foot, kind of come in to a couple spots and let that gold just rain and be pretty. Now we're going to come in and do a little bit of, I'm going to come in and do the stump. And at first I was going to do a little bit of green, but I think I'm going to come in with gold. Let's go in with gold. Ah, Daisy. Tanya says this is her favorite one. Daisy says, I need 10 more Christmas cards. Do I dare watercolor them? Yes, you do dare. Because you could just like take an hour, get all your watercolors out and just kind of play with this a little bit. I'm going to add a little gold stump. I got a lot of pigment on here, so let me get my brush kind of dried off a little bit. And then just use that gold that's there, kind of cleaning off my brush a little bit in between. Use that gold that's there and kind of create that stump. Now, while it's still wet, I'm going to do it again. I got my brush tip a little bit wet. And I'm just going to gently run over and touch that very bottom. And then use that to kind of create a little bit of a base. A little bit of a ground base. Digging it. Just very subtle. I think it needs to be. I think I need a little more there. Just very, very subtle. Now for the top, we're just going to do the star. Virginia, you did yours on craft paper. That would be so cool. Like if you were going to do it on craft paper or if you did it on like a black watercolor paper, you could do like just straight up gold tree. How fun would that be? That would be really fun. All right, I'm just going to get a little bit of this gold on the tip of my brush And then go to the top here, and I'm going to go old school and make a star. Just old school wonky star. And I'm just literally painting it in with my brush. Clean off my brush a little bit. Get that wet. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Get that wet, come out. I'm really loving that you're all sharing that you would like more watercolor tutorials. Because friends, this is what I've always wanted to do with this channel, is go deeper with watercolor tutorials. That's kind of a wonky, star, but I like it. It's got a folky kind of look to it. Okay. Tanya says you make it look so easy. Tanya, we're just playing and having some fun with it, right? And practicing, and just knowing that you could take a couple supplies, paint, water. There's a helicopter going over. It may be very loud. It could be two different kinds. A lot of Blackhawks go over because I am in Maryland and we are close to a lot of bases, or shock trauma, one or the other. But it's very loud, so apologies. Okay. Here we go. Here's our tree. Look at that shine. I think this one's my favorite. This one's cool. I want to play with this concept a little bit more. And then here is our really organic kind of funky tree. And I like that too. I think all three of these are super fun. You could take this, if you did this big on this like 5x7 paper, you could take this, put it in a frame and use it for decor. Could pop in a few little red metallics. Also, there's a little heart right there. Does anybody see it? Hearts always pop up in my day. So, but now you've got some solid tutorials to try this again. So, oh, Judy said you played with the ornaments after last week's live. That was a fun tutorial. Sydney and I had a really, really fun. The big tag is my favorite too. Yeah. All right, friends. Yay. I love it. Let's take my face off and let's go back to the front. I really had a good time today with our little paint and chat over lunch. We painted 3 projects together and just kind of had some fun. Okay, lots happening throughout the rest of this month. Next week, I'm going live this Thursday at 11:30 with a brand new, this is our last in the holiday tutorial lineup. And it's going to be a mashup of 2 stamp sets in my collection, Season of Joy, that just recently came out in September, and Life is the Song, the piano stamp set, friend. And the whole tutorial is going to be watercolor focused. And I'm going to mash up these 2 stamp sets and we're going to create an oversized holiday card. Daisy just asked what ink would stamp on top. So if you're going to stamp on top, any ink, if it's completely dry. You could use, if you're not going to go back in and add water to it, you can use any ink over top of it. But it needs to be kind of dark enough. So like a cherry red or some of those kind of colors I think would work. Everybody's saying, this was so much fun. Thank you. Everybody's so sweet. I couldn't. Tanya said she splattered. I think I'm going to end up splattering after we go off. Anyway, going live this Thursday, 11:30. That tutorial is already set up. You can hit notification. It's already set up here on my channel. Now, next week. Oh, Tanya, are you on Gina's release tomorrow? Okay, a couple things about the Gina 12 Days of Christmas that I want to share. Next, I am on day 5 and day 8 of the opening of the 12 Days of Christmas box and sharing inspiration and tutorial. So I will be going live next Tuesday at 2 p.m. and next Friday at 2 p.m. sharing day 5 and day 8 inspiration. So If you have purchased this box, great. You're going to get a ton of inspiration from many of us who are creating with it. I've decided to go live and share a tutorial with whatever's in those bags. And we're going to make just a small fun project together. If you did not get the box, don't worry, because I'm going to be sharing tips and techniques with the products and talking about, like, it's still great inspiration for you to grab whatever you have in your stash and be able to replicate that concept. So, okay. Judy just shared, yeah, I read that right before I went live, and Karen can also confirm that too. Gina is not going live this week, Tuesday or Thursday, because she is preparing for the 12 days of Christmas, where she's going to go live for 12 straight days in a row at noon Central. And then there's other creators, many of us, that are popping in on different days and giving you additional tutorials. I am one of them. I'll be doing day 5 and day 8. So yeah, you're getting a lot of tutorials from her, and I'm super excited to share. And then also, one more thing before we leave each other for the day. I will be, we have a brand new Gina K release that's happening Tuesday, December 23rd. So I'm excited about that one. I'm waiting for it to arrive to create some really fun things. So more to come for that. But the next 4 tutorials that I just shared are live on my channel, so you can hit notification for them. I also created a playlist for the 12 days of Christmas if you're interested in that. And that is the goal, friends, for me to set some of our paint and chats up live ahead of time. I am looking to get on a Tuesday, Thursday kind of schedule. So we'll see. All right, let me look at your questions before we head out. Yes, Karen confirmed no lives tonight or Thursday. Virginia, what day again? I think you're asking what days for the next tutorial. Yes, this Thursday, 11:30. I'm going to do an oversized card, and it's going to be a stamp set mashup. I'm going to use Life is the Song. That's the piano set that was released earlier this year in my collection with Gina K, and Season of Joy. And we're going to do some watercolors. It's just going to be fun. It's just going to be fun this Thursday, 11:30 Eastern. Yes, giving us extra. So like you. Okay. Oh, yes, friend. Daisy, put on your radar to talk about watercolor specific stamps. Are they any good? Good question. And I know what you're talking about, Daisy. So I'm going to make a note and we'll talk about that next time. Okay. All right, friends. Woo! We went 10 minutes over. I said we would be a few minutes over. That didn't happen. So my apologies. Sometimes Paint and Chat's going to go like that. But the goal is Paint and Chat. We would do a really fun project together over lunch. If you're on my email list, you will get that kind of information ahead of time, kind of letting you know what we would do and what supplies to pull. But the goal would be to keep it really super simple, that we can just kind of paint something together over lunch. Okay, friends. Hello, Kathy. All right, friends. I will see everybody on Thursday, 11:30 Eastern. Brand new card tutorial, and we'll talk more about all the fun things that I have planned coming up for 2026 and how I'm going to take a deeper dive into our YouTube channel and share more with you. Okay, friends, thanks so much for joining me. I will see you on Thursday. Bye now.